you'd need to have enough money to move without selling the house.
Yeah.
Which is like not likely, especially if you've just bought the house. You're probably not going to have enough money to then just move on somewhere else and keep the house.
Okay. So that's all of our renting pros.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll move on to our buying pros. So buying is better for long-term finances.
Yeah.
And the associated renting con is that it's more expensive in the long term because, like, if you buy and then you have a mortgage, the repayments increase how much of, like, how they increase, like, how much of the house you own, they increase your assets. Whereas rent payments don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the phrase rent money is dead money. It's like,
that's rent money is dead money.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what that's getting at.
Yeah.
It's not entirely true, but
yeah. Well, I watched this, like, as I was saying at the beginning of the episode, there was this YouTube video about renting versus buying, and they started out, I really like this point because I've always sort of, like, I don't know, I haven't had very high opinions of renting throughout my life. Like, I'm fine for other people to rent, but I've never really wanted to be a renter, at least not for, like, the long term, or, like, without a goal to then sometime buy. But because I've always seen it as kind of just throwing money away. But, like, really you're not. You're, like, paying for space. You're paying for, like, something, and you're getting something in return. So it's, like, it's not, I don't know, it's not throwing money away. You're still gaining something. But I guess from the point of view of someone that lives at home, it doesn't really make sense for me to go out and rent for no reason. At the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, unless I want, like, independence and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but,
and buy at home, you mean with your parents. Yeah.
Yeah, at home.
Yeah.
With my parents,
Yeah. Our next buying pro, which is a related point, that you have more assets in retirement if you're buying, because as we just talked about, mortgage repayments increase your assets. So once you get to retirement, you're better off, and the renting con is obviously that it's harder to save for retirement. If you can't afford to buy a house, I'd recommend sticking to a saving schedule and investing the money in mutual funds or ETFs, and maybe look at a Vanguard account. So we'll talk about investing more in a future episode, but anyway, the real important thing is that you stick to a strict saving schedule, and then don't just put the money in a bank, or if you do, put it in a long-term savings account. But don't just put it in a bank account that's not getting you any interest or anything.
Rates,
So you want to be looking at investing it ideally. Yeah. And that's the thing. Anyway, so a strict saving schedule. The strict saving schedule I just recommended actually brings us to our next buying pro, which is having a mortgage is a commitment device. That's what economists call it anyway, which makes saving easier because it forces you to make regular repayments.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And also I feel like it not only forces you to make regular repayments, but because you can actually see where your savings is going, it's contributing to the fact that you get to live in this house. I feel like that's more of a motivator, whereas sticking in some account that's gains interest, or investing it in things that you can't physically see.
It's just not as tangible to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that's really, I don't know, I feel like that would have a big effect on me, is seeing where my money's going and feeling like it's making a difference and all the saving is worth it because it's contributing. Yeah,
I'm such a big fan of ETFs that probably for me, I would go, whoa, look how much money look how much ETFs I own. That's sick.
That would be an achievement for you. Yeah. Whereas for me, that I feel
that just feels
I can't relate.
Hollow and empty.
Yeah. And also definitely I can relate to the commitment device, because I feel like for a lot of people, there's a temptation to spend all of the money you make, basically. Yeah. And so if you don't have something that you have to pay that forces you basically to save, then that temptation can be further ignited, basically, because you can just feel like, oh, well, like, all of my weekly expenses are paid. I have this money left over.
Yeah.
Let's use it.
Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah, that's why I would really recommend sticking to a strict saving schedule for renters and investing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And trying to find the motivation to somehow see that investing is, like, a thing that is good. And yeah. Because I think, like, people often are good at saving for things. Like, I think. But people are often bad at saving for retirement or saving for, I don't know, like, the long term, just in general, having savings goals that don't relate to, like, a tangible thing that you're going to buy or, like, a holiday or something.
Yeah, so the other thing people are bad at saving for is people are bad at saving for, like, for the purposes of having a windfall. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole idea that we talked about a little bit earlier with the after you paid the deposit, in terms of, like, if you have a bunch of emergency payments you couldn't have predicted. Yeah. And you can't afford them, that's really a financial situation you don't want to be in. Yeah. So it's good to always have a couple $1,000 if, like, that's possible for you. Yeah, like, obviously,
depending on your situation. Your emergency fund, as long as you have something, usually, like, it is better than nothing. Yeah. Like, something saved is better than nothing saved.
Yeah, because
the last thing you want to do is go into debt because of unexpected costs.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff.
Yeah, any, like, medical costs is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, Medicare in Australia is pretty good, but
yeah,
there's still.
Medicare doesn't cover some things, which I've learned about, and I was a bit, like, shocked about. I don't know. I just, like, grew up thinking that it basically covers everything, but it really doesn't. Yeah. So, and a lot of young people don't see the need to get health insurance because, like,
they already have Medicare? Or?
Yeah, they already have Medicare, but then they might not realise that Medicare doesn't cover, like, ambulance. So, like, and that's, like, a massive cost. Yeah. If you have to get an ambulance without cover. Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people that, like, because there's, like, you have to pay the Medicare levy after, like, what's the age, do you know? It's, like, 30...
I don't know.
I think it's 30 something.
We'll
I think
probably
after you...
Like, we'll say on the next step, I'd say.
Well, I'll put it on the blog post. Yeah. I'll say it on the next step as well. But anyway, I think you have to be, like, 31 or something. Okay. And then you have to pay this Medicare levy if you don't have private health insurance. But, like, so people are like, oh, I can deal with that later. But, like, depending on your situation and how often you think you might need an ambulance, like, yeah, it might be wise to look into that sort of stuff.
Our next buying pro is you have the freedom to do whatever you want with your property. Well, pretty much. Like, you have to, like, have the council approve a lot of changes and
if it's, like,
stuff
external
like that.
Changes or structural changes, that sort of thing, you tend to have to get council approval. But, like, as long as it's not, like, if you don't want to make your, like, house, like, a 4-story thing, like, I feel like the council should approve it. Yeah, as long as it's safe and everything. Like, obviously councils have regulations about height of houses and everything like that. So, yeah.
Whereas when you rent, you've got pesky landlords and their tenancy agreements getting in the way of the amazing changes you could make to the place you live. Yeah. Yeah, so landlords kind of like parents, bit of downers. No, I'm kidding. But also, like... Yeah. It's like how your parents would be like, no, you can't just, I don't know, burn down the tree in your backyard. Yeah, you shouldn't do that anyway. Okay, that's a bad example.
But, like, you can't just paint your room.
Yeah, red.
You can always ask, though. Like, often when you want to do... Okay, so this is the other thing. So, like, if you... Like, another thing that you might want to do is, like, redo the bathroom. If you don't like the bathroom. Or do something that improves the value of the property. Sometimes the landlord... This is rare. Usually they'll be like, no, you can't make any changes at all. But I've definitely heard of cases where landlords have been like, yeah, that's fine. Spend your money on that. Yeah. Redo that for me. But, like, they won't pay you or do anything about that or, like, decrease your rent or anything usually. So basically you're just, like... I mean, it makes the space that you're living in nicer, but, like, you're not investing anything when you do that. Yeah,
so that was the next... That was the next advantage to buying that I was going to talk about, which is that if you make any improvements, it's basically this, well, very related to the last one, but
Yeah.
if you make any extensions or improvements, you own them, which is good.
Yeah.
And it generally, those sort of things don't increase the value of your house very much, or not as much as you would like spend doing them.
If you do them right, though, you can definitely increase the value of your house.
Yeah. But like, for example, when we redid our kitchen, I remember my dad saying, "Oh, this isn't going to like make our house worth any more money. It's going to cost us like $50,000 or whatever."
Whoa.
I don't know.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it sounded like a lot of money to me. I was like,
I
what?
think you definitely can do. There's like a lot of people that's the whole flipping houses thing, is like redoing the interior.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely works, especially if you buy a terrible house and then redo it for like not that much money. If you do like budget renovations, you can definitely improve the value.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think it was just that my parents really weren't doing budget renovations. They were trying to get a real nice kitchen.
Yeah, well, obviously if you're going to live there, you want it to be perfect in how you want it to be. And you won't really care if it like increases the value, because it increases the value for you.
Yeah, it's been like more than 10 years since we renovated our kitchen. I'd say it like has paid off in standard of living. You know? Like,
exactly.
Given my parents' financial situation, I'd say it has.
Yeah, and you like won't. It's good because when you move away, you probably won't move away because you own it. But like, it's like stays there. It's not like you give it. Like basically, if you do that to a rental, you're like gifting it to your landlord.
Yeah.
So you're like improving your standard of living for that time period that you're living there. And also I think another problem is if you rent for a long time at the same place, you can get really attached to that place.
All right.
And then it makes you feel like, but you don't own it. And so they could at any time decide, we don't want to rent it out anymore.
So the buying pro there is that like housing you own is permanent and no one can take it away from you. Well, technically the bank can if you can't pay your mortgage repayments.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a future ep about like the logistics of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But anyway, so the renting con is that the landlord can decide to kick you out, obviously with notice, or if you're being an idiot, they can just probably kick you out straight away.
Yeah, or if they just decide that if you're being an idiot, they could probably kick you out straight away.
Yeah, if you've broken the lease agreement, that is.
But like,
or they could just decide, not to renew your lease at the end of it and find a different tenant.
But also, it could be that they don't decide to rent it out anymore. Or they want to do something different with it, or they want to renovate. So I can kind of see both sides of this. Like, I understand getting attached to a house that you've rented for a long time. Like, some people rent the same place for like 10 plus years. And then having that be like, oh, sorry, your home's no longer available next year. That would suck.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand from like someone that owns that house, their point of view is that like, oh, they might want to like live in it, or they want to do it up, or they want to like Airbnb instead of rent or something.
Yeah.
They want to change the way that it works.
Yeah, or maybe, just a random hypothetical, they've like got a few investment properties and they've had just a discovery in life that what they really love in life is hot dogs. And they've decided that they're going to sell their investment properties
This is great.
and use the funds to start up a hot dog chain or hot dog business. They're going to sell hot dogs. And it's going to be so good. And they're just really passionate about hot dogs. That's possible too. You never anything could happen, and landlords, because they own it, are allowed to do whatever they want. But I don't want to demonize landlords too much.
No,
for this. I
definitely
probably
not.
have a little bit, but
They're definitely...
Yeah. Anyway, so if they do decide to kick you out, or end the lease or whatever, they are required to give you certain amounts of notice depending on where you live. You should get a minimum of 14 days though, or just until the end of the lease. I don't know. Yeah, it depends on where you live. So 14 days would kind of suck, but
that would be really bad.
Anything less than that would be really, really bad.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You should get at least that long.
Yeah.
We've covered almost all of the buying pros and the renting pros, but there's one last one, which I'd say is a bit subjective and not really for everyone, but that's the personal satisfaction of being a homeowner. And it's really nice to be on a patch of land that you can call your own.
That's like the Australian dream
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
of like buying a house.
Yeah, and having
that
2.3
life
children and a dog.
2.3 children. I love it.
And a white picket fence.